Now, back to Hands on Apologetics with Gary Machuda. If you'd like to join the conversation, call 51. Here's Gary.
We're talking to John Derosa, master apologist, and about slogans, answering atheist slogans. And John, that slogan, ordinary claims have ordinary evidence, but you're making an extraordinary claim that does God exist or that miracles happen. So you have to give us extraordinary evidence. How do you handle that?
It's a good objection, and I'm sorry for a moment. I got to resist that title of master apologist because I want to get to the listeners that I am learning alongside them, and we've got a long way to go to constantly improve. But let's dive into this slogan. So here's what I suggest. Again, the main tip I gave you at the beginning of our discussion of these slogans is to ask questions rather than make statements.
Right.
So when someone says extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, I think the first question you need to ask is, what do you mean by extraordinary claims?
Right, yeah.
You ask the person, yeah.
Like, what is an extraordinary claim, and what scale,
Exactly right. So that's really key. Is when you probe this slogan, it might have some surface level truth to it, and it might even be true when they define the terms in a certain way. But you really can't assess it or give it any rhetorical force until they say what they mean.
Right.
So when I say by extraordinary claims, and I've really heard like two questions, either what they can say, what they might say at this point. They could say, well, an extraordinary claim would be something that is extremely rare. A very, very rare event could be an extraordinary claim. Okay. And at that point, what I would point out is that, hey, wait a minute. There are rare events that just require, good and spectacular so that they're true. For example, the odds that your friend wins the lottery, a very rare event.
John, it's breaking up again. I could only get no, it's not your fault. It's we're going to have you call back. Is that the extraordinary that John? Boy, we're having. Well, you know what? It's the dojo. Sometimes I guess it can't be transferred from one part of the country to the other without some technical difficulties. But that's too bad because he was just unpacking something really cool. Extraordinary evidence is required for extraordinary claims. Well, first of all, what is an extraordinary claim? If it's rare, well, rare things happen, and they aren't extraordinary, right? For example, the dojo has moved out temporarily to the West Coast. That is a rare event. So would you need extraordinary evidence to show that I am here in California? Well, I don't know. That's subjective. Again, and what would count as extraordinary evidence? Now, I don't want to steal John's thunder because we're going to have him back on the program just because, he declined the title of master apologist, and I understand why. He's a very humble, holy guy. But nevertheless, he was doing a great job explaining this. So we'll have to have him back on the show so we could explore this in detail. But for me, in terms of extraordinary evidence, you need extraordinary evidence to begin with. That would be my question. Because if you think about it, do you really need 5 or 6 proofs to show that 1 + 1 = 2? Or do you just need one valid proof that 1 + 1 = 2? What's the point of having all these extraneous extra evidence if one piece of evidence suffices to show something's real or true? At least it makes sense to me. So this whole claim about, proving the existence of God, you need to, or miracles like Richard Wave's oneword.com, classical theism, oneword.com. And he has some very good podcast interview with some of the movers and shakers in this area of apologetics. For example, he has Trent Horn, who is very, very good on hands